Hey guys, Pat here. In today's video, we're going to start getting into the build series for the Oldsmobile. This is going to be episode 1. No specific goal for the video. We're just going to kind of go over what's going on with the car, where we're at. There's not really one part of the build we're going to be focusing on. Currently, I'm cleaning up the shop. It's a little bit of a mess here, as you can see. Stripping the car down is really just taking up all the space, and we're doing a little bit of fab work back in the back side of the car there. So it's a bit of a mess. Just want to go through and clean up some stuff so we have a little bit of working space. Finally found someone to come and dustless blast the frame. They're coming tomorrow. So really the goal for tonight is going to be to strip down the frame. I still have the engine and trans in it from when we test fitted it on the body. So I got to pull that back out as well as pull the diff out. We're using the diff to kind of mock up how much space we need to take out of the wheel wells on the back side of the car. So I got to rip that out, rip the engine and trans out, pull the core support back off, and then put this outside for them to come blast tomorrow. Pretty excited to have the frame blasted. It's been something I've been trying to have done for the last few weeks. It's actually been kind of a pain to coordinate. Reach out to a bunch of different shops. I've reached out to a bunch of different dustless blasters, and this is the first guy who finally got back to me. It's kind of been the big holdup with getting the frame back together and done. As far as fab work or changes to the frame, we've done everything that we need to do. So we're gonna get it blasted, get it painted, and then reassemble, because we have things like the suspension just sitting here on the floor, taking up a bunch of space. So get that back on the car, it'll free up space. Plus it's nice to see some progress. We've been ripping the car apart for the last almost 3 months now. So it'll be nice to start seeing the car get back together. So I'm gonna get a little work done, and then I'll catch up with you guys then. All right, so got the frame fully stripped. Engine, trans, and rear end are all out now. Took about 45 minutes, wasn't too bad. It's pretty easy to strip down when there's nothing really in the way and everything's only got a couple bolts in it. Got the rear end there, T56 down on the floor, engine over here. Yeah, it's ready to be dustless blasted. They're coming tomorrow morning to take care of it. The next time you'll see the frame, it'll probably be fully blasted and we'll be putting the paint on it, which is exciting because this has been a hold up for getting the frame back together for a while now. I might have mentioned it earlier in the video, but the frame's ready to go back together and be fully assembled. So put the engine and trans back in, and all the suspension stuff, free up space, and it's nice to see progress. Kind of gets a little hopeless at times when you're super deep in a project like this and everything's getting ripped apart. You're not really seeing anything go back together. So it's a nice morale booster to finally see some stuff start going back together, even if it's only half the car. So over here, we're doing some sheet metal work. We have a brace here. I believe we got it from Auto Body Specialties, I want to say. It's a sheet metal place here in Connecticut. This is something that we've been dealing with for the last week or so. You can see the whole center section of the car is pretty much cut out above the rear end. Now, when we did the sheet metal in the car, which is a lot, we've done doors, floors, quarter panels, the trunk, the deck lid. So I think the only original metal on the car, end rockers, is the cowl and the roof. The one area that we didn't do was this area up here, which was this rear brace that goes above the diff. It was starting to rot through in a couple places, so opted to play it safe. We cut out the whole center section there, as well as the brace, and what pushed us really to replace it wasn't just the spot rust where it was starting to go through, but also those are the 2 pads for the roll bar, and it's not a good idea to have that welded to rusty metal. So we're replacing that with all 1/8 inch, so a little thicker, which would be nice to have the extra material there where the roll cage is mounting to. And we're also going to add nuts into the cross brace that goes up in here. The BOP cars had 2 extra body mount spots in this area, but from the factory they just sat in the frame. They didn't really do anything. They just sat there to help support the body. So we're going to run bolts through there to hopefully get a little more clamping force on the body, make it just a little more rigid. So that's what we're working on in the immediate future. As far as what's next, probably start painting the frame like I was saying. I'll probably put a little bit in of the fab work we're doing. We're actually having the piece that's going in there made currently at a local fab shop. So we'll get that welded in there, re-weld the roll cage pads back in, put the brace in, and then we're going to wire wheel and clean up the whole car. It's not in too bad a shape. You can see where we replaced the trunk back here. But I never went through this when we had the car apart when I was, I think, 14 years old. I never really touched the frame. I should have at the time, but being 14 years old, I just wanted to get the car back together as quick as possible. So by the time I got my permit, I could drive it. You can see here the wheel well. We have that cut in. It is sucked in and re-welded. We already cut the trunk in. You can see where we drilled all the spot welds out and sucked it in. So we're gonna have to clean up this cut a little bit and then weld in a piece to go in there. We got about a 1/2 inch of additional clearance, and we're still clearing the frame, so that'll be good. Same thing on the other side of the car. It's sucked in, so we'll finish weld everything once we get that new piece up in place, and that'll pretty much conclude the metal work we're doing on the car, aside from the transmission tunnel, which is sitting there right now. I don't know if you can fully see it in the car. The cut's pretty much finalized. I think I have to take about a 1/4 inch more out of the front, just to clear a couple of the, I think it was a couple spots where bolts go on the front of the trans. So a little bigger hole than I would have liked to put in the car, but it's really not the end of the world to cut the floor out and replace it. So yeah, that should, you know, be most of the metal work done on the car. We're hoping to have most of it done this weekend, and by next weekend potentially, so not like 2 weeks from now or so, have the frame back under the car finally, which will be good. That'll be good to see. And then we'll have to plumb all the brake lines and stuff, start doing the pedal setup and whatnot, and move on to the painless wiring harness. So it's good to be making progress. We kind of stalled out on the car for a few weeks. If anything, it was just because we didn't have the parts we needed. So yeah, excited to get this blasted, get it painted, and start getting it back together.